Welcome to another interesting video. In this video, you're going to learn how to make this beautiful suit over here. And in this video, you're going to learn how to cut it. And in the next video is going to be how to sew it. If this is what you're interested in, let's move right into the video. To start with, here are my measurements. And I have my line already drawn, my shoulder line. I also draw another line that's 2 inches away. This line is going to serve as my space for creating my slits. Remember, this suit really have a slit at the back. So after drawing this line, I went ahead to draw all my other lines, like the shoulder to the chest line. I've also drawn the shoulder to my waistline, shoulder to my hips line, and shoulder to the full length, then my hemming allowance. So here are the lines, and from shoulder to my chest line is 9.5 inches, to the waist is 17 inches, to the hips 25 inches, to the full length is 33 inches, and my hemming allowance 35 inches. So after this, I'm going to start the drafting from the neckline. The neck width is 3.5 inches, and that's what I mark. Then going up by 1 inch, I mark the neck depth. That's 1 inch. So that's the marking now. I'll go ahead and use a ruler to create my neck curve. So having gotten my ruler, I've gone ahead to create the neck curve. After that is the shoulder. Shoulder is 19 divided by 2, which is 9.5 plus 0.5 seam allowance, 10 inches. That's what I'm marking there. 10 inches on 2 points. Then on these other points, I'll come up 1 inch up from the chest line and mark. Then I will mark 0.75 inch inward. So that is just to create my shoulder slant for the back. Then I'll also go ahead and mark my seam allowance of ½ inch. Then coming to the shoulder slant, I'll mark ½ inch downward from the shoulder line. Then I'm going to connect my shoulder slope now from the 1 inch to the 1 inch above the shoulder line. So I'm going to use my curved part of the ruler to connect this other side of the armhole, as you can see. To mark my waist, I'll simply subtract 6 from 36, which is my actual waist circumference, which equals to 30 divided by 4. That's 7.5, and that's what I marked there, plus ½ inch allowance. Then coming to the hips, I'll check whatsoever I had at the waist, then I'll increase it by ½ inch and then mark it there. So that's the same thing I'm marking on my hem line and on the full length. So I'll simply use my ruler and connect the markings, starting from the full length to the hips. That will give me a straight line, and then I'll use my curve ruler to connect from my hips to my waist, and then I'll also connect from my waistline to the chest line, forming a beautiful curve for the back. After that, the next thing is to reduce ½ inch on the waistline at the back part. Remember to follow the nice curve that we have on the back. We're going to reduce it at the waistline because we are using a slit at the back part of it. That's the center back. That's why we're going to make it straight all the way down. After doing that, just to shape the back, you go ahead to the chest line and then mark 0.25 inch, just as you can see. Then coming in between the chest line and the shoulder line, fold it into 2 as you can see and mark it out. That is where the markings will hit the line. So connect from the back waist, that's the center back waist, like that, to that chest line, 0.25, and then from that chest line you just put your ruler, as you can see, and connect it to your neckline, forming the beautiful curve that we have on the human back. So we have done this already, and we're going to move over to the slit part of it. You know, the slit is usually 6 inches, so to be on the safe side, you may decide to take 7 inches depending on the length of the individual. So mine is 7 inches as I have marked it out. Then I will measure 2 inches to form my slit width. So I'm going to draw it down and square it up with my full length and hemming allowance. So that's what I have. Then the next thing to do is to add half inch on the back side of it. That's going to serve as your joining allowance. Since the back side is not going to be on fold, we have to add a half inch for the joining allowance. So after adding the half inch for the joining allowance, I'll go ahead and draw it out following the other curve that I had. Try to make everything the way it was on the other on the real marking, so as not to have a wrong measurement there afterward. So that's what I'm doing basically. Remember, when you're making outfit like this, you have to be very precise in what you're doing so that you not end up making trash. So I'm just adding the half inch. Then after that, I'm going to cut it out. I've grabbed my scissors and I am cutting it out, following the outlines that I made. That's drawings that I made. So I'm going to cut it to the end. Just watch as I'm cutting. Okay, so that's the back part of it. We're not going to move over to the front part of it. So to move over to the front part, I have to draft a straight line. The straight line is just a guide. Make sure that it is straight. Then we need the back parts to check the measurement that we had on the hips line. The full measurement there was 8.5. Then 1 inch is for joining allowance on both sides. So I have 7.5 at the end of the day. So 7.5, half of my hips measurement is 21 inches. Remember, my hips is 42 inches. So half of it is 21. So I will place my 7.5 inches away from half inch away from that line that I drew. Then I'll go ahead and mark my 21 inches, just as you can see. In other words, I have 13.5 there. Then I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So this 1.5 inches is going to serve as my button overlap. So that's the same thing I will do up there, and that will form my front panel. Okay, so now that I have gotten the measurements, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark 5 inches from the center front line. Remember, the other side is the center front line. So I'm marking 5 inches from that shoulder point and on the chest line. So I'm going to connect it with a straight ruler now. After that, I'm going to mark 2 inches from the shoulder line downward. That's 2 inches from the start line downward. So, and I'm marking these 2 inches because I want to use this as my shoulder slope. Then I'll still need my back panel. So this back panel is going to help me to know where I'm going to place my shoulder thereafter. So I'll check the shoulder measurement and then place it like that, slanting it to the 2 inches. Whatsoever I had on the back, I transfer it to the front, and then I'm going to mark, which means this line is the same length as the one I have on my back shoulder line. So after that, I'll check whatsoever I had there. That is 6 inches, and I'm going to transfer it to the chest line, 6 inches. After that, just mark 1.5 inches upward, depending on the size of the person. And then you will still mark from that shoulder line. You slant it to that 1 inch that we marked upward. Then after covering it out, remember that this is just a student suit. You don't need it to be so curvy. That's why I'm taking it that way. Then I'll still mark half inch down like this. Then I'm going to curve it down to that point. So this is quite different from how I mark my adult tailored suits. So I'm going to basically check the front panel, what I have from the back panel. The remaining uh, inches is what I'm going to mark there, just as you can see, just as I did on the hips line. So thereafter, I added my half inch seam allowance, and I also mark it up there, 1 inch up there. Remember, the back panel was 1 inch up, so it has to come all the way to be the same as the back panel. As I said earlier, if you want me to make a video on how I make my corporate suit, that is a bespoke suit, just let me know in the comments section. You'll see that the drawing of the armhole is quite different. But since this is a student suit, you don't need to make it too dramatic. You have to make something moderate for the students. Okay, so I'm just basically drawing my armhole just as you can see. And after drawing my armhole, you may wonder that this is very small and there is no side piece on this. So like I said, it will not have side piece. It will not have side panel because this is going to be cut together. It is a student's suit. So you can use this opportunity to learn how to make this. So I've gone ahead to mark my waistline and my hips line is already there because I use hips measurement to make this outfit. So after marking my hips point and my waist point, so I'm going to connect it. I really did not add my seam allowance at the waistline, so I'm going to add it now. So I'm marking my seam allowance first before I'll connect it, just as you can see. Okay, after marking my allowance there, I'm going to connect it with a curve ruler, a hips curve ruler. So I'll still connect it to the armhole, giving me that beautiful shape at the waist part of it. So that is what we have for that side. Then coming to the lapel, I'm marking 3/4 of an inch away from the neckline to form my lapel. After I've gotten the mark, I'm going to draw it straight to the waistline. If you like, you may take yours below the waist or a little bit above the waist, but mine, I'll take my lapel down to the waistline, and that's perfect for this outfit. So after drawing it, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches down to form my neck line, then mark 3.5 inches on this other side. Then I'll connect my 3.5 to my 1.5 inches. So this will make a slanted neckline. Then at the lapel part, remember I need my neckline to be perpendicular to the lapel. So I'm going to extend it from that lapel point to 3/4 of an inch to have my perpendicular neckline with my lapel. So that is what I am doing right now. Remember, when you're creating your neck, it should not be too wide, it should not be too small. So just take a perfect size for the neck. If you need to know more about creating necklines, just let me know in the comment section. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my lapel. I just want it to be a little bit coffee. Sorry that I really blocked your view, but after drawing it, you're going to see how it looks like. So I just need that little coffiness so as to look sharp and beautiful. After that, I'm going to slant the down part of it. So I mark 1 inch backward from that point. Then I'll slant it straight to my waistline, just as you can see. Then thereafter, I'm going to mark 2 inches backward again to create my coffee part of the suit hem. You know, when you look at the suit, you see that the hem part of it is mostly coffee because that's what is trending now. We don't have sharp edge. After that, I'm going to locate where my welt pocket will be. Of course, that's not a welt pocket. It's going to be normal pockets, patch pockets for student suits. So I'm going to cut because that's all that we have for the front and the side panel joined together. Oh, do you really want to know how I go about making this outfit? So don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell. Thank you very much for staying tuned up to this time. Thank you. Please don't forget to hit the like button. That's very important, the like button. And this is what we have for the front and the back panel of it. Coming up next is going to be how to cut the sleeve. I hope it's going to be very interesting. Please stay tuned. As you see, I'm going to take the measurement of the armhole circumference and then go ahead and cut the sleeve. I mean, this is going to be very important and interesting. Then we'll also see how to cut lining for suits, especially this type of suit. You really need to know how to go about that. So thank you very much. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Let's move right to the next level. See you in my next video. Bye bye for now.